Good evening. My name is John McKinney. I'm a prosecutor. I've been a prosecutor for the District Attorney's Office for the past 20 years. I want to thank the organizers of this event for allowing me a few minutes to speak to you. But most of all, I want to thank the survivors and their families and their friends who have come out tonight. We need to get together more often.
Let's do it.
We are gathered here tonight in remembrance and in support of victims. We are here to express our love and concern for all members of this community who have had their lives torn apart by violence. You know, we talk a lot about mass incarceration, and so we should, but we hardly speak at all about mass victimization. When have you heard that term used? The murder rate is up nearly 30% in our community in the past year, and it's at a 10-year high. And it's at this time we see a slew of anti-victim policies coming from the District Attorney's Office. Unfortunately, victims of violence have become forgotten in this community. You have become invisible to many in politics, and although we appreciate the coverage here tonight, to many in the media. We gather here during these last hours of this year so that you can be seen and you can be heard. Let your candles illuminate your loss and your pain, but also let it illuminate your hope for a better future. You will know before you leave here tonight, if you haven't seen already, that you are not alone. You have a community of neighbors, police officers, individual prosecutors. You have judges who all stand with you. We will always stand with you. We see you, we hear you, and we support you. Now, a lot of people will say, they'll pay lip service to the fact that victims have to be a priority in our system of justice. But if we as a community are to truly live up to that principle, then we've got to make some changes, and we need to make some changes fast. If we are to live up to that principle, there are some things that we cannot and must not do. First, we cannot and we will not be forced to choose between redemption for an offender and proper punishment for an offender. That's a false choice. I talked to a mother the other day who said after her son was killed, she went into the prisons so that she could see for herself whether or not there was any humanity there. And she found it. And she found forgiveness. But that didn't mean she didn't want the person who murdered her son properly punished, properly held accountable. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to make a choice between redemption and punishment. Second, we cannot and we will not allow public safety to be reduced to a false choice between being tough on violent crime and responsible criminal justice reform. We can have both. Don't let anybody tell you you can't have both. We cannot and will not be forced to accept a blanket, one-size-fits-all approach to justice. It's lazy. A system where there is only sympathy for an offender of violent crime and no empathy for the victims. We will not tolerate that. Not in Los Angeles. This is our home, this is our community, and our values will be heard. We cannot and will not allow innocent lives to become collateral damage in an effort to fix broken people. Now, we can pray for people who break the law. We can even pray for people who take a life. But we're not going to sit idly by while somebody uses Los Angeles as a laboratory to see how many lives they can fix. We won't be collateral damage. We won't tolerate any experiments in Los Angeles. No. Like as I told you, I've been prosecuting for over 20 years. I've been specifically doing murders for over 15 years. My fellow prosecutors and I, many of whom you have met and you have worked with, we've mourned with you. My fellow prosecutors and I have held hands and hugged, ate dinner with scores of families of murdered victims. We've sat together in living rooms, hotel rooms, hospitals, police stations, and even churches. We've seen the prison of regret that a violent crime puts you in. It's a prison from which your sentence is a sentence of life without parole. You may heal, but you will never heal 100%. You may get better, but you'll never be made whole. Surviving the kind of violent crime that we're talking about comes with a life sentence of its own. I want you to know that I and many of my fellow prosecutors and many people in this community, we all want you to know that we are truly sorry that many of you who, after fighting for years for justice and thinking you had achieved it through all the court appearances, all the continuances, the appeals, the writs, when you finally thought you had some peace, all of a sudden you are being dragged back into this system to fight for justice all over again, and it's not fair. It's not fair. And what is particularly disheartening is that when you walk into court now, the people's lawyer who stood with you in the past is now standing against you. And that's not right. And I can assure you that many of those deputy district attorneys are not comfortable in the role that they have been forced into. In closing, let me say, you all have been and you continue to be an inspiration. A lot of us went into this job because we wanted to help victims of crime. That's not to say that we don't have concerns about people who commit crimes. We do. We'd rather they not do it. We'd rather there be less crime. But when a crime happens, particularly a violent crime, we know who we stand with first. We know who the priority is first, and that priority is you. Now, these times have placed a burden on you, and I say, if change is going to happen, it's not going to come from prosecutors, it's not going to be led by law enforcement, it's got to be led by you. You have got to be seen and heard. You have got to get organized. You have to talk to one another. There are a lot of representatives from victims' rights groups here tonight. Get a card, get a phone number. This has to be a movement that starts on the last day of this year. But hopefully, we get together a year from now, and we will be in a much better place than we are tonight. What you need to do is, we have that phrase, the criminal justice system. Well, somebody took justice out of that phrase. Now we just have a criminal system. You all are going to have to put the word justice back into that phrase. It's got to be led by you. We will follow you. In the past, you're used to the deputy district attorney being the leader that comforted you and that you followed. Well, now you have to lead us, and we will follow you. So to all of you who support victims of violent crime and who also want to see thoughtful, responsible criminal justice reform, look forward to midnight tonight. Look forward to the change of the calendar. Look forward to 2021, so that in 2021, we might hope for change. We love you guys. We respect you. We're sorry that you had to leave the comfort of your own homes during a pandemic to come out here and be heard. The greater Los Angeles community needs to pay attention to what's happening here tonight. This is not right. This is not what you voted for.
No.
You support victims of violent crime. Thank you.
Thank you.